Hey guys, it's Matthew and welcome back to another episode of Board Game Time. But today we're going to be discussing a certain topic that is it's kind of frustrating me a lot, and I really just wanted to get it out there and get my opinion on it. Now obviously what I'm about to talk about doesn't really involve anything physical. It doesn't involve like a physical board or anything like that. And as much as a lot of the show is talking about physical things that you can buy in the store, I feel like this is relevant to a degree, just based off of the subject matter that we're dealing with here. Because I feel like it doesn't always have to be physical for it to be represented as a board game. During the famous Dota International Championship game, which happens every year in Seattle, Valve released a teaser trailer for a new game. Now, of course, when you hear Valve and you hear new game, a lot of things come to mind. There are a lot of theories circulating around your head, and you're probably thinking, oh, is this the time that we're finally going to get Half-Life 3? Or are we going to get another Portal? Or are we going to get another Left 4 Dead? Or something like that. But of course, being that this is a Dota 2 championship, what Valve ended up teasing was this idea of a new card game. A card game that will be released in 2018. And this card game is going to be based off of Dota 2. Directly based off of Dota 2. So just like Blizzard with Hearthstone, and how Hearthstone is based directly off of the Warcraft lore and the Warcraft creatures and characters and stuff like that, you have now Dota doing a similar thing by moving the Dota 2 lore into a card game for other people to play. It's essentially diversifying what you can do with Dota 2. Now, obviously, the internet did not take too kindly to this message from Valve. And this video is basically going to be addressing why people's outrage is not really valid. You may or may not agree with me, but you know, to each their own. Everybody has their own opinion on what they think works and what doesn't, and this is just merely mine. Kind of a take on someone who is a board game enthusiast into, you know, sort of what Valve's doing here. So I'm going to be addressing some comments in this comment section of the teaser video, and I'm essentially just going to respond with my own opinion and my own take on the Dota 2 card game as a whole. Let's dig deep into this cesspool of anger and torment and rage, and yeah, oh great, it's amazing, it's awesome. Alright, so let's take a look first at the like to dislike bar ratio. Now the video I'm looking at is a screen grab from the Dota 2 International Championship stream, so it's not actually a Valve upload, and if it was a Valve upload it would have gotten a lot more views, like no problem. However, this is just somebody uploading it from the stream. So they recorded it and put it up there. And obviously, you know, the community didn't take too kindly to the news. So at 26,941 views, 104 likes, and 1,673 dislikes. So obviously, the community not very happy with how things have turned out here. So let's go take a look into the comments and see what we can find. So I'm going to address the low-hanging fruit first, which is like the stuff that is easy to answer. And that is where's Half-Life 3? I want Half-Life 3! You're supposed to be making Half-Life 3! Stop making these other games, Valve! Half-Life 3, Portal 3, a new TF2 update, or maybe a new FPS game. No, let's make a card game. Just do Half-Life 3. Give us Half-Life 3. You heard it, Valve. You heard it. The community is strong on this one, baby. Let's for a moment, and I hate that I have to talk about this, but let's for a moment just reassess how we're looking at Valve. Half-Life 2 was an amazing game. It was fantastic. Dare I say, flawless. One of the best video games I've ever played in my entire life. And of course I would like a Half-Life 3. Who wouldn't? However, let's stop kidding ourselves. It's not gonna happen. If it does, and I end up being proven wrong, then awesome. That's amazing, you know? I'm fine with being proven wrong in this aspect. But it's not going to happen. We're all making up these theories like they're in some sort of development hell with it. Like they've been working on it for so long because they're struggling with legal problems and stuff. But when you're talking about a developer that is also in itself a publisher, then they would really never go through a development hell. They'd be able to cycle out a game when they feel like it. Why would it take Valve this long to make Half-Life 3? Why would they purposely wait this long to make it? It's been 13 years since Half-Life 2. Why do you think they're still working on it? My theory is that they were gonna make it, but then because the hype became so real and people started bringing up these expectations that this is how Half-Life 3 has to be, then they just decided not to do it because they didn't want to disappoint people when it comes out. Because let's be honest, your expectations of how Half-Life 3 are going to be through the roof. So why put yourself in a PR nightmare where you can just say, we're not going to do it because our entire community is expecting something that is godlike, and it's impossible to do that. It's impossible to live up to all the expectations of the entire fan base, especially when everybody has a different view of what they think Half-Life 3 should be. It's not going to happen, okay? Portal 3, probably not going to happen either. It could, but, I'm either way. Like, it doesn't have to happen. They mentioned that they are making a new Left 4 Dead. And that's great. And eventually we may or may not see that, but the point is, we have to stop asking Valve to make Half-Life 3. Maybe if we stopped asking them, they would, because then they think that, we're ready for it. Who knows? But this is just painful to talk about. The other thing too is you have to remember, although Valve is a company in itself, it's a one company, the people that were behind the story and the world of Half-Life 2 aren't behind the Dota 2 world. It's a different group of people that are designing it. So the fact that Valve has to be responsible for all these different IPs is stupid when you have different people doing different things in terms of how Valve operates as a company. It'd be like going to like a Pizza Hut or something, going up to the counter and asking for like a sandwich, and they would say, well, we don't make sandwiches here. And you go, well, come on, okay? Anybody can make a sandwich, so you should make a sandwich too. I mean, you're Pizza Hut. You should definitely make a sandwich. You have the ingredients available. Why don't you make a sandwich? Why don't you make a sandwich? Well, we don't do our team. We just do pizzas, right? Right? Well, again, making sandwich isn't that hard. You should probably make a sandwich. That's all I'm saying. All right, this is comment from Stupid Carp, and he says, "What happened to you, Valve? I don't know, maybe they're diversifying their Dota 2 brand." From Nuclear Paradox, "I'm done. The only thing they want is money. They already have billions and billions. Why not create something that the community wants? Like more Dota 2 stuff." Dota 2 is one of the most popular esports out there today, with millions upon millions and millions of players, and like an international view of it, with tournaments, official tournaments all over the world, as well as unofficial tournaments all over the world, teams here and there, pro players with salaries, like career jobs. Like, this game is all over the place. This game has a huge community. What this person is saying is that the community doesn't care about Dota 2, which is just factually incorrect. If the community didn't care about Dota 2, then it wouldn't be as big as it is today. Did the community ask for a card game to be made? Maybe not. But does that mean that the community doesn't want more Dota 2 related stuff? No. I mean, a card game is a great bonus, I would say. From Cosmic Budman, "I'm not upset because it's not Half-Life 3. Good. I'm upset because seeing another company make some card game out of one of their IPs just proves how much it is that money fuels Valve's interest." Again, no. Valve has all the money in the world, and they're looking to just simply diversify. They take something that already has a huge community attached to it and just add to it. Here's what I think people are freaking out about the card game. oh, it's just microtransaction this, microtransaction that. We're going to be forced to have to buy packs all the time just to keep up with the supply and demand. But yet, these people are playing Hearthstone. Hearthstone is not a bad game. It's not really something I would buy into. I just feel like it's not something I interact and play with too much, or I feel like compelled to play anyway. But that game in itself is pretty open to people playing without having to spend money. I mean, if you do spend money, you're guaranteed to build a better deck, you know, in general. But honestly, like, you can just enjoy the decks that the characters come with and just, you know, play computers or whatever. There's a lot of, like, avenues, and there's also avenues to collect boosters with certain objectives and stuff. It's a very common way for card games to run in terms of how their system is. If Valve does this, I don't really think it's a bad thing. It's just, it's a different avenue. They're trying to build a new community in Dota. Because there are people that like watching Dota from afar, but they don't like the aspect of how the game plays. They think it's like, it's too difficult for them to get into, and they feel like they have to spend more of their time trying to get good at that game. So if you give these people that want to be a part of Dota 2 somehow, and you give them a card game, it's going to be more accessible in general for anyone, because card games are very easy for anyone to get into right away. From Reacts, he says, I don't even play Dota. Does anybody here play Dota? Yes. Millions and millions of people. From Amen, he says, or she, I don't know, a fucking card game? Really? Why do you need a cash grab game? You already have money. For fuck's sakes, Valve. Again, how do we know this is a cash grab game? We've seen zero gameplay of it. It's coming out in 2018. They probably are still in the middle of developing it right now. Why are we making assumptions of how they're making their platform, okay? A cash grab game would assume that they put zero time and effort into development and made a system that forces you to buy into it if you want to keep playing. If this artifact game is going to do the route as in you have to wait like a certain period of time to play again unless you buy into it, then yeah, fuck them. What a stupid system. But as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to do that. My predictions on how the game will look is two things. The first one is the Hearthstone model, which is very simple. You can buy packs of cards to build decks, or you can collect cards over time through objectives and so on and so forth. And you can choose characters that have pre-built decks and stuff like that. That's a pretty simple system, pretty simple to the board, you know, very textbook mobile card game, free to play card game in general. But the way I think Valve might approach it, and I think would make the game amazing, is if they chose to make every card available in the game. Now, before you say like, oh great, so everyone's just gonna build the best decks, and no. I mean, Valve will make every card and even new cards free in the game. However, you can't just pick and choose what you want to put in your deck. The way I see it is that whenever you play something on ranked or online, you'd have to draft your deck each time before going in, essentially. So you always have a chance of getting really good cards, but you'd always have to draft them anyway. And then if you won a game, or even if you lost, you could keep the history of the cards that you use, so you can keep track of the decks that you made in case you feel like you want to remember a certain synergy that you did with the decks. And another thing that they could also put in is that if you're playing against computers, you could pick any card you want and build any decks that you want, because it's not going to upgrade your rank in any way. So you can just practice with decks and stuff in that aspect. And if they did that, then where's the cash grab besides, you know, buying cosmetic stuff, or, you know, to make the maps look different or whatever. So we have to think about what they could be doing with the game before we make assumptions that the game is just going to be downright awful. Okay, so from Daniel Duncan, it better be damn good. And I mean damn good. I've been playing Hearthstone since it came out, and I've tried all the other games, and none of them seem to grab me like Hearthstone does. I think I know what the difference is, too. I think it is the average single game time. I've played duelist matches that went on for just under an hour, compared with Hearthstone, where my average match is just barely 8 minutes. Again, I mean, not a terrible comment, but you're using fast decks. Simple. Hearthstone could have a long game. I've had a Hearthstone game that went on for like an hour once, okay? Because both our decks were slow as hell. So, I mean, if he's using fast decks, then yeah, it's going to be a fast game regardless. It's how decks work. Like, if you're building your deck to be fast, then you have a fast game. But if you're building it to be slow, then it can be slow. Hearthstone isn't just going to be a short game. I feel like he's attracted to Hearthstone because of how it looks in comparison to other trading card sort of games out there. And, you know, I can see that to a degree. It has a really nice aesthetic to it. The cards look really nice. And, you know, it's got a very interesting system and very easy for anyone to kind of get in there and play. So, you know, I can agree with this. But the fact that he's expecting it to be like, it better be fucking amazing. You understand me? You hear me, Valve? I mean, but his like rubric of how he wants it to be amazing isn't really like, he doesn't really have an expectation of, you know, besides the fact that it has to be short. But I don't know. It really depends on the decks you build. That's really all it's cracked down to be. We'll do one more comment here. And finally, Dance Floor Outcast says, Valve, are you delusional or something? This is surreal. It's like you're mocking your fans with this never-ending shit. Get back to making great shooter games. You know, Half-Life, Portal, Left 4 Dead, new IPs. I'm losing faith in this company more and more every day. It's BioWare all over again. You know what? Say what you want about Valve. Criticize them. Pull up your pitchforks and whatever. Riot. Who cares? But at the end of the day, Valve has a monopoly over all of us. If you are active on Steam, if you have spent money on the Steam platform, then you're not going to leave Valve's side. I'm sorry. You want to do a boycott Valve for this nonsense? Then go ahead. Throw all the money that you threw into Steam away and be like, well, I don't care, I'm boycotting it. Even though I invested a ton of money into this platform, who cares, right? Because Valve needs to know. And sure, if everyone did boycott, Valve would probably, you know, hear the pleas of the community. But nobody is going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Because I definitely have probably more than $100 worth of games in terms of how much I spent in general, like maybe even more than 500 on my account. So like, why would I want to just throw that all away for the sake of making some social change in Valve's the creative strategy? You know what? Let him make the card game. It could be a good card game, and you know what? I'm definitely going to check it out for sure, personally, and I think that we need to give them a chance to show us what they have. It's time to stop living in the shadows and start just accepting that maybe Valve is moving on from their other IPs and are just focusing on the Dota brand. Because why not focus on something that's like turning in a huge profit every year? And why not expand and make the community bigger? When it comes to corporations and comes to companies, it's never they never have a point where they're like, we're only going to make this much profit and then we're going to keep this level forever. They always want to see how they can increase profit at all times. It's never about finding where they want to make the profit and then just stopping there. It's all about just keep going. And why not? You know, you want to increase the interest, because eventually the people that were there for a long time are going to stop using your company, or they're going to stop like looking into your company after a while. So you have to always keep that interest so that you always have a base of people that are looking into your product. Anyway, sorry for the long ass video, but I just had to get this rant out of the way, and I had to just, this is something that I had to chime in about. So anyway, thank you for watching. And let me know your thoughts on the new Dota game Artifact that's coming out next year, and whether or not you're going to play it, or whether or not you also think that Valve is doing something stupid here. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the matter. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.